Hi friends, good evening. Today we are going to discuss something unique, and that is how translators play entrepreneurship role in society and how it is important to understand them in power relationship that exist in our society, from individual level to family to locality to district to state to nation and at international scenario. Therefore, let's understand how translators are no more only seen as a person who writes or who translates the text. Now we will see translator as an individual, because theoreticians have already started thinking and writing about translators who are not only seen from the text angle, but they are seen from an individual angle, because their persona and their habitus play a major role in deciding what they write and what they think and how they write and translate when they are dealing with the text. So let's see how it goes. Do get tuned to our YouTube channel, and I am sure you will find it useful. Do subscribe. Thanks a lot.
Today we are going to deal with the topic called translators as entrepreneurs. The idea is to understand how linguists play their role as translator and at the same time evolve into entrepreneurs. So in this topic there are certain main points of discussions. In first part we will have introduction. That means in introduction we will cover how translators are shaping in society and contributing towards economic development of a country and how they are being seen. The second part will cover the key questions that is coming into this present scenario in translation market, and then after we will deal with influence of IT on translators and how translators are responding to those new changes that are taking place in the market. And at the last we will have how these technologies can help us in evolving as entrepreneurs. At the end of this topic we will cover how we can set up our company, and before closing I would like to give you my own observation on certain key points that are equally important for development of entrepreneurship among translators. So it will be very important to note that in recent times, especially with IT boom, there has been exponential growth in the demand for translation and translators. But at the same time, there has been increasing pressure on translators because of the demand that is coming on the companies for whom they work. Means that there are times when company needs to produce translated text to meet customer demands at the shortest possible time. And for that, translators are taking variety of measures and taking training and trying to get integrated with IT using CAT tools and using innovative ways to deal with this situation. In recent studies where we have seen Common Sense Advisory, Taos Data Association, GALA, Translators Association of China, and Indian Translators Association, all these organizations have been importantly adding research data about translators, and they have conducted quite a large number of research that helps us understand how things are shaping up in translation industry. So the key areas that comes into picture is all these research organizations that I just mentioned about, especially Common Sense Advisory and GALA, they have been actively involved in doing market survey and market studies of translation market for last many years. According to them, there is a trend in this particular dynamic market where lots of recession has taken place in recent years. The translated market is growing on average at 12%. Hence, the CEO of GALA has advocated a concept called AAA movements for Asia, Africa and Arab world. And he says that although there has been recession in other markets of the world, but Africa, Asia and Arab world is very vibrant in terms of translation and its usage. Therefore, there has been growing trends in job scenario for translators in these regions. So now, what is the key area where comes into picture? The key area is translators must integrate with IT if they wanted to survive the dynamism that is bringing a variety of innovative ways and disruptive ways in the market. Therefore, if you understand what is translation process, especially when the use of CAT tools comes into picture, we have our one of the well-known translation theorist and Professor Pim, who suggests that because of new technologies coming into picture, especially the use of machines and machine tools and CAT tools, the translator's life has coming into standstill and they are now being more seen as segmented work and donkey work in terms of using text not as a creative mode of using brain and getting personal pleasure by doing something good in terms of creativity through translation. But now translators are being seen or are being forced slowly into using phrase replacement, word replacement and what we call chunking of segments through CAT tools. Therefore, there is less of creativity and more of copy-paste and technology management that comes into picture in recent scenario when we are talking about use of machine tools and translation tools. On the other hand, this particular opportunity of machine as well as CAT tool has given rise to a tremendous opportunities for IT people as well as those who are easily accessing these centers of machine tools and memory tools. Thereby, Asia Online has recently created contents in at least 500 languages through automated translation. And this is a big number and this talks a lot about the opportunity available in machine tools and CAT tools market. So now the key question arises. All these activities that we just discussed about, are they efforts for ignoring the creativity or creative instinct of the translators? Or all these opportunities can be tapped and converted into opportunities for translators in near future? So we have to understand these developments from these two angles. So what I will do now, I will try and include the impact of these machine tools and IT on translators and then move ahead on other topics of today's discussion. So now, what we understand is the technologies are now essential evils for translators. So there has been tremendous improvement in machine and translation tool output of Google Translate that we notice always. Similarly, this particular trend involves creating domain-specific quality control multilingual corpora in order to increase machine tools efficiency. That means there is opportunity for the person who is multilingual and who is smart enough in a particular domain. However, if we talk about development of machine tools in terms of Indian market, we notice the name of Dr. Hemant Darwari, who devised a system called Mantra, which is now being deployed in Parliament of India, where translators translate documents on a regular basis of all those proceedings that takes place during Parliament, and they are using this tool very efficiently in order to increase their translation output, especially when there is workload during Parliament session when it is on. So now what happens? Because of all these impact that is coming into picture, we find ourselves a little bit in danger zone, because we start thinking that because of machine coming into picture, they are replacing human beings and translators will be wiped out of the market. But the reality is, because of Google phenomena or social media phenomena or Web 2 technology phenomena, there has been tremendous increase in consumption pattern of contents, not only in English but also in all major countries of the world. When I say major countries, that means they have their specific languages. Therefore, there is increase in multilingual contents globally, and that increase is exponential. It is very difficult to measure that increase, but I assume it is at least 100 times in recent 10 years. However, comparatively, the number of translators in all these languages have not increased in the same proportion. There are experts who opine that although we are there as a translator, but only 0.5% of the contents gets translated, and rest 99.5% remain untranslated. Number one. Number two, not everybody is online. So these, one side there is opportunity because 99.5% documents are never translated, and another side, not everybody is into digital arena. Therefore, those who are not on internet, they cannot use machine tools. Therefore, we have to provide support to all those population and people who are digitally deprived. And also, if you try and understand globally the presence of translators, it is very, I will say, minimal numbers of translators available globally. When I say translators, I always refer to professional translators. While talking to a variety of leaders of industry on translation market as well as translation associations, I came across certain points which I always discuss with them, and I came to the conclusion that we do not have more than 500,000 translators currently in the world market. However, there is need for at least 10 times, 20 times of those translators who could translate content in multi-languages. Therefore, there is tremendous number of scarcity of translators, and thus we can justify how the scenario of translation market has always been consistently rising, and it is on consistency 12%. I am just giving you certain data that I collected from Common Sense Advisory report, although this data is quite old from 2012, but if you locate at it, Africa has 0.27%, Asia has 12.88%, and Europe has 49%, and North America has 34% market. Therefore, if we look at Asian region, I believe in last 5 years the scenario has changed, and there are chances when number of percentage of use of translation market have increased in Asia region, especially because of internet boom in this region as well. So when we look at new paradigms in translation that I will talk in next few minutes. Let's understand what are the traditional known paradigms of translators, and that is translation, web localization, software localization, on-site interpreting, multimedia localization, technology, telephone interpreting, voiceover, and we do also have some small segments like international testing, quality assurance, subtitling, transcreation, business process outsourcing, and video interpreting and telephone interpreting, etc. Therefore, if we look at the market of activities of these languages, we find translation to be at the top, and then after website localization, and then localization, and then content writing also comes into picture. So these are traditionally known activities whereby a linguist gets himself involved. If we try and understand a large organization where translation market or translation activities takes place in a planned way, and they have memory, they have server, they have a team of glossary management, they have a team of memory management, they have a team of content writing, they have a team of proofreaders, they have a team of quality controller. So this particular diagram shows we have content, we have glossary, we have translation memory, we have localized content, and we have machine, segmentation, professional translation, review, and in right side we have server, which is linked with machine translation, crowd translation, style-based translation, workflow, and all these interact with each other, and no translation is allowed to enter into server if it is not quality controlled or checked. If it is not checked and if it is entered into the server, it will pollute the whole translation memory. Therefore, it becomes mandatory for the organization to maintain consistency as well as keep strict quality control in order to facilitate better management in translation. So now, in order to understand what is the possibility for translators to play another role in supply chain, I try to interact with some industry people. I will mention 4 of them, and I will say, when I say I mention 4 of them, okay. So in order to understand what are the alternative roles that a linguist can play in a supply chain, I interacted with variety of people and I classified them into 4 categories. So one is an individual who is a translator, another is a translation agency owner, and the other set is a person who is involved in a bigger supply chain, and the fourth set is people who are scientists, who are the translation industry leader, who are the promoters of the industry. So the first 2 categories could not think more beyond terminology manager, corpora, specialist, interpreter. I mean, these were certain names that they could define as alternatives for a linguist. Similarly, when I talk to project manager and some industry leaders, they told me certain names that are like project manager, localization manager, corpora manager, specialist, I will say, subject domain expert, web developer, TTP expert, behaviour professional, technology integration expert, and cross-cultural researchers. In fact, I had to prompt them with these names in order to be certain that certainly they are aware of these terms or not. However, it is very interesting to note that none of them could give me an idea that a translator could evolve as an entrepreneur as well. Later on, I insisted that, do you feel that there is alternative for entrepreneurship also available for translators? Many of them were very hesitant, but a few of them were very positive about it because they had never thought of that this can also be a solution. Therefore, what I was now try to explain it to you is that currently, because of technological boom and because of penetration of IT in our system, it has become important for translators to minimize their efforts in developing entrepreneurship activities. How, I will tell you. Now we have lots of freelancers who are making full use of open source platforms and which are very cost effective. It's very easy to mobilize people, network through Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Hotmail or similar service providers who provide such services free. They also provide free internet. When I say internet, this is, I will say, email services. And they also offer platforms, B2B platform, interactive platforms, social media platforms, in order to help you express and do networking. I believe with use of all these possible tools, an entrepreneur can minimize the cost of setup as well as cost of scaling up. And using social media marketing techniques, IDA model that I discussed about, search engine optimization that comes into picture, social media marketing that comes into picture, it becomes comparatively easy for an entrepreneur to start branding himself. If we look at certain success models, I will tell you a very, very enterprising model of success, that is Translators without borders. I interacted with its head, Lori, CK, and learned that they provide one of the most vibrant platforms for providing emergency translation services. When I say emergency, that means translation services in emergency needs, including medical health. If there is some disaster that has happened in a country, they reach there, they translate content for the medicine, they translate content for the leaflet, they translate content for instructions that is given in order to control disaster and help needy. They do it at a very fast speed because they have developed quite a strong network of translators across the globe, and they also provide cost-effective solutions because they are being funded by a variety of organizations, and many times translators who are emotional lot, they also provide very economical services to them, many times free, many times at a very nominal cost. And this is a win-win situation for everybody. They are able to sustain, they are able to help people, and at the same time they are able to involve translators, and that helps them develop a business model which is very, very sustainable one. And all this has happened because of effective use of the available resources around us. So when I have talked about the 4 type of category, they also responded that it is not easy to become entrepreneur. Means one has to be having traits like ambition, determination, openness to new ideas, capacity to take risks and rewards, and at the same time one needs to have craft. When I say it is not mandatory for the entrepreneurs to integrate with IT, it is not. However, it speeds up our activities as entrepreneurs. The other respondent also responded to me and emphasized on the need to bridge the gap that exists between academic world and the professional world. In academic world, we are more oriented towards theory, more oriented toward literature. In professional world, story is different. we have to deal with IT, we have to deal with management, we have to deal with team, we have to deal with variety of cross-cultural scenario that comes into picture in our system where we work in, and we also have to kind of motivate our team members. We also have to motivate ourselves in order to sustain in the existing competition and relationship that keeps on developing from one way to another. Means we have to learn to have survival skills. And all these basic requirements, which is mandatory for any professional world, is not met when we are doing university education. So this is the point which they emphasize on, that the gaps must be filled. The third respondent also said it is always good to integrate with the government, and because they are also taking initiatives. Even in India, if you see Skill India program as well as Make in India program initiated by Prime Minister Modi, aims at promoting entrepreneurship in society, especially in Indian context. So if we try and combine ourselves, when I say our ambition, our process of development, and start making use of available resources in fine-tuning with ambitions of the Prime Minister of India, I believe we as a translator can evolve into a small enterprise first, medium enterprise later, and larger corporation in a much higher stage. Therefore, we have to take into consideration not only our ambition but also the circumstances that are shaping us. The fourth category also informed me that they are aware of some good number of linguists who have already started their ventures, entrepreneurial ventures, and they have evolved into a small agency and they are now doing quite well. I can explain you myself through my own example. Because I am also a linguist, and after having gained certain experience working as a translator, working as a management trainee, working as an administrative officer, working as a teacher, as a professor, all combined has helped me evolve into an entrepreneur. So therefore, I believe this is a time when we must start thinking away from the traditional way and look into new horizons which are waiting for us. So at conclusion, I would like to now emphasize and conclude with some more points, and that is based on whatever that we have discussed. And one is, translators need to adapt to the dynamics of market forces, otherwise we will be wiped out of the market or we will only take peanuts. IT and translation technologies are necessary evils for the online community. They go together. If IT exists, translators also exist because they have to provide contents in multi-languages. There is no denying the fact that machines bring dehumanizing effect at one end, at personal level, but it also helps us in creating human networks. It also helps us in creating variety of opportunities that exist globally through human network that we create. While working independently as a small unit as a translator, we may not have the opportunity to evolve ourselves as a team member or a team worker. But when we work in a bigger corporation, we interact with variety of people, variety of stages of managers, and we also deal with accounts, we also deal with sales, we also deal with marketing, technology, social media marketing, and we get exposed to all those techniques that help us in shaping ourselves as entrepreneurs. Therefore, if you are looking or working as a manager or as a translator or a project manager in an e-com company, it is always good to keep learning and evolve ourselves on a daily basis and improve. Because if it starts happening, we are sure we evolve into a much better human being, a much better employee. And therefore, this brings team working, and once we learn team working, we know how we can multiply activities. That is what is called multiplier effect. From one point to another, and from another to another. And that's how the chain starts, and that's what is called multiplier effects. So we no more remain a simple or a mere translator, but we become project manager, we become corporate manager, we become sales manager, we become localization manager, we become team head, we become country head of a localization team, and after having gained sufficient level of knowledge and experience, what is left? And that is entrepreneurial venture. In order to understand all these activities, I always cite a name called Pierre Bourdieu, a French sociologist, who talks a lot about space, who talks a lot about social term, who talks a lot about power relations that exist in society. And theoreticians from translation industry have linked those theories given by Pierre Bourdieu in translation studies as well. And that deals with not with the text but with the translators. So the idea is a person who is doing translation is doing certainly translation of text, and theoreticians have always focused on understanding text, context, cultural nuisance, sense, word to word, sense to sense, and all these theories have always been roaming around in translation world. But very few have talked about the individual, the persona, the person, one translator as an individual. Very few of them have talked about translator as a person dealing the text. That means only few of them have moved from text to person. That means if we try and understand a concept called habitus given by Pierre Bourdieu, if we try and learn to read the habitus of a translator and start doing research on his behavioral pattern, his development in society, his development of education, psyche, mentality, all that gets reflected on his face can tell us a lot about what translator is going to be in a text. That means it is not only the text that matters, it is also the person who is handling the text. So if we understand this particular concept and start handling such situations and look at translator from his behavioral and social pattern, through his habitus, perhaps we will be able to find more solutions as person handling human management. When I say human management, that means if we are hiring a translator, looking at all these angles, perhaps we will be able to help each other in a much better way. And this applies especially for human resource managers and or any management in the company who is recruiting translators. So now, after having dealt this whole situation that exists in translation market or in translation scenario, I would like to give one specific observation, and that is that we as a translator, when we start working in a team, we learn variety of things, and that creates confidence in us, that empowers. I understand not everybody can be entrepreneur. However, it is always good to give it a try. Especially when we have available resources which we don't have to own always. Especially when we now know how to co-create values through social media or IT platforms and retain translators or retain clients by co-creating values. We can also retain translators as well as we can also retain clients. Therefore, if we learn this technique of co-creating values using social media platform or using IT platforms, we will be able to do wonders in our marketing efforts when we are entrepreneurs. That means how this thing has come into my mind while reading book written by CK Prahalad. I came to know about this idea, and that idea was n is equal to 1, means now the world has moved towards giving unique experience to each and every client. So n becomes 1, unique experience. Every client is special. And R is equal to G. What is R is equal to G? R means resource and G is equal to global. So now resources are no more local only. They have become global and we don't have to own them all. We just need to have access to them at a very low cost or at a cost. Means if we apply this phenomena of n is equal to 1 and I is equal to G and create access to variety of resources available, we are automatically global citizens. And if you try and look at yourself as a translator, I believe that I'm already a global person because we have access to IT platforms, we have access to people, we have network, the only thing that is left is making clients. And making clients, we have already dealt in our previous lecture by our friend Yana from Greece, who has talked about personal branding. Please refer to that. And keeping all this into consideration, if we look at certain points of collaboration, if we look at certain points where we get all these ideas how to sync, we understand that we need at least 4 things. One is translators, networking and collaboration. Modlingua is already doing with you all. We need to have IT and entrepreneurship training. This is we have already included courses for entrepreneurship development, what is called translation management. You will be listening more about it in near future. Setting up entrepreneurship development center. We need many centers, but at least one center has been set up by Modlingua called ED Center. And establishing collaborative platforms. We already have a variety of social platforms like Facebook, Google+, Twitter, LinkedIn. And it is always good if such initiatives are also specifically taken from translating industry side. Modlingua is working on this direction. I am sure with your collaboration, we will be able to achieve that also. So before I end, I would like to just sum up with some points which is very important for setting up a company. You must register a domain name before you think of a name of the company. Create a website. Create a database of prospects, clients and translators. Plan digital marketing. I have already explained you in my previous lectures. Push and pull marketing strategy for social media as well as email marketing. Launch vigorous marketing campaign which can be meeting people, which can be sending mails, which can be creating visibility on social media platforms as well as through writing, through blogging and through podcasting and whatever possible options that you get. Start small, no need to invest too much in the beginning. Once you get certain success, invest a little more and then again create a team and scale up. Collaboration is important for all these activities, so that we must keep into account, and I'm sure with this we could be in a position to create job not only for our own self but also for our society and contribute in economic development of our country. With this, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to you, and if you wanted to connect with me, please always connect through these three platforms that we have in Translator.com, hrlingua.com, and certainly Modlingua.com.